A peaceful deer becomes a deadly predator after human greed poisons the forest. The film opens with a story about a young deer named Bambi. He is leisurely walking through the forest with his mother when suddenly a hunter appears and kills Bambi's mother on the spot.
It may be a magical place.
Still very young, Bambi is left heartbroken and alone in a harsh world. Years pass, and Bambi grows into an adult deer. He finds happiness after gaining a mate and being blessed with a child. However, that peace does not last long when the forest is damaged by a radiation company. As a result, Bambi's mate is killed after being run over by a passing truck, while his child flees in panic and disappears. In the midst of the chaos, someone suddenly strikes Bambi, knocking him unconscious. Soon after, a representative from the Wilbexer Company recklessly dumps toxic chemical waste into a river deep in the forest. When Bambi awakens, devastated by the loss of his family, he walks to the river to drink, unaware that the water has been contaminated. The poison causes his body to undergo a horrifying transformation, turning him into a deadly savage creature filled with an unrelenting desire for revenge. The story then shifts to 3 hunters hired by the Wilbexer Company. A man named Tyler is seen practicing his shooting, while Michael monitors Tyler's training, and Eddie keeps watch over the surrounding forest.
You ever shot a deer?
Elsewhere, a woman named Zana is shown calling her ex-husband, Simon. Zana is clearly upset because Simon cannot attend the Thanksgiving gathering at his family's house due to work. Despite being divorced, Zana still maintains a good relationship with Simon's family. She is forced to attend the event by taxi together with their son Benji. During the trip, Benji suddenly becomes carsick, causing the taxi to stop so he can vomit.
All right, okay.
After that, they continue their journey. While the taxi driver is busy searching for candy to help Benji feel better, a massive deer suddenly appears and violently flips the taxi over.
Cheeky little bug.
The attacker is revealed to be Bambi, driven by his thirst for revenge over the death of his family. The driver is killed after being crushed by the vehicle, while Zana and Benji struggle to escape. Fortunately, they manage to flee from Bambi's rampage, although Zana is forced to leave her phone behind inside the wrecked taxi.
Move back behind me. Keep your eyes closed.
Meanwhile, Mary, the mother of Zana's ex-husband, is standing outside her house facing the forest, repeatedly calling out Bambi's name.
Bambi.
Mary seems to share a strange emotional bond with Bambi. It is revealed that Mary suffers from dementia, which is why Simon's brother Andrew and Andrew's wife Harriet must constantly look after and supervise her at home. Seeing Mary alone outside, Harriet quickly approaches her and gently brings her back inside. Andrew and Harriet have a son named Harrison. Because he is overly spoiled, Harrison lacks proper manners and tends to behave rudely toward older people, often mocking his grandmother Mary as someone who's not sane.
Shut up!
Harrison!
Not long after, Zana and Benji arrive at Mary's house, both breathing heavily and clearly traumatized. At the same time, Benji's father Simon is seen making a phone call with the same 3 hunters previously shown in the forest. From their conversation, it becomes clear that there is something extremely urgent they must deal with that very night. At Mary's house, Zana tells everyone about the attack by the deer named Bambi that resulted in the taxi driver's death. Andrew initially intends to call the police, but due to poor signal in the area, he asks his younger brother Josh to go up a hill to find reception. Seeing that Benji has a cut on his leg caused by shattered glass from the accident, Zana immediately tends to and treats his wounds.
Sorry.
At the same time, Simon's associates discover the taxi that Zana had been riding in earlier, now completely wrecked with the driver dead inside. Eddie then finds Zana's phone inside the vehicle and shows it to the others. Suddenly, a loud crashing sound echoes through the forest, caused by Bambi, prompting the 3 hunters to immediately track the source of the noise. Eventually, as they hear someone approaching, Tyler accidentally fires his gun toward Josh, who is trying to find a signal on the hill. The shot kills Josh instantly. To prevent the killing from being discovered, they agree to hide Josh's body.
Take him back to the truck.
Meanwhile, back at the house, Zana continues treating Benji's injury but becomes irritated by Harrison's rude behavior toward his grandmother Mary. When Harrison leaves, after being called by his mother, Benji grows curious about Mary's strange behavior. He wonders what is wrong, having noticed Mary muttering to herself while scribbling in a notebook. Mary appears restless, as if haunted by fear. As Benji looks at the drawings Mary has made, the elderly woman suddenly stares blankly toward the garden as though she is waiting for something. Moments later, Bambi crashes into the house. Andrew's family is shocked by Bambi's sudden intrusion as the massive deer immediately goes on a rampage, destroying the interior of the house and sending everyone into panic. Harriet, terrified, hides in the bathroom, but Bambi manages to find her, breaks in, and attacks her. Meanwhile, Zana, Mary, Benji, Andrew, and Harrison rush to escape using the car parked in the yard. As Andrew tries to start the engine, they suddenly realize that Harriet is still inside the house. Tragically, right before their eyes, Harriet is killed, her body torn in half by Bambi's bite. In sheer terror, they speed away to escape Bambi's pursuit. Despite Andrew flooring the gas pedal, Bambi, now possessing strength far beyond that of a normal deer, is able to keep up with the car. Fortunately, they eventually manage to escape the creature.
Mom!
Watch out, guys! Hold on! Come on!
Elsewhere, Simon's associates, who are searching through the forest, finally arrive at Andrew's house, now completely destroyed by Bambi. To their horror, they find Harriet behind the house, still alive but in critical condition, her body split in two. Seeing her unbearable state, Michael is forced to end her life so she will not suffer any longer. Meanwhile, after driving a considerable distance, Andrew's group is forced to stop when the only road ahead is blocked by a fallen tree. Andrew, Harrison, and Zana get out to find a way to move it, while Benji tries to calm Mary by telling her stories about his father Simon. Outside the car, Andrew and Harrison attempt to pull the tree using a rope tied to the vehicle. Zana then returns to the car to check on Benji, who is now sitting alone in the driver's seat. She tries to reassure her son, telling him that everything will be all right. Before they can relax, Bambi suddenly appears right in front of them. Instinctively, Zana tells Benji to step on the gas. Unbeknownst to them, Andrew's leg is tangled in the rope, causing him to be dragged along the asphalt and scraped violently as the car speeds away, eventually killing him. Meanwhile, Harrison, left behind, rushes into the forest to find a place to hide. It turns out that Bambi's true target is not Zana, but Harrison, who is now alone in the woods. Bambi relies on his sense of smell and instinct to hunt. Realizing this, Harrison moves slowly to avoid detection, but he accidentally falls into a pile of deer droppings. When Bambi approaches, he cannot detect the scent of a human and chooses to leave Harrison behind. Meanwhile, after traveling some distance, the car driven by Benji runs out of fuel, forcing them to stop. Zana gets out of the car and tells Benji to stay with Mary. It is then that she realizes Andrew has died, his face badly scraped from being dragged across the road. Curious, Benji also gets out to approach his mother. In that moment, Mary, who has been left alone, begins walking into the forest. Zana and Benji immediately chase after her. Elsewhere, Harrison desperately tries to find a way out of the forest. He's extremely panicked and terrified after hearing noises coming from behind the dark bushes. It turns out he encounters a rabbit, which annoys him so much that he kicks it away. Not long after, a large group of other rabbits suddenly appears. Strangely, they behave unnaturally and move at above-average speed, having been infected by the same chemical substance that mutated Bambi. Realizing the danger, Harrison slowly backs away, but his bad luck strikes when he trips. Tragically, his head gets caught in a hunter's trap, and he is ultimately devoured by the savage rabbits. This horrifying incident is revealed to have been recorded by a CCTV camera, indicating that a certain party has been monitoring the forest from the beginning and deliberately setting traps, possibly to lure Bambi. Back to Zana and Benji, the two of them try to persuade Mary to return to the car, but Mary only mutters incoherently.
Stay here.
But it's okay.
We're worried about you.
Mary.
Benji briefly lights a flare, but Zana, worried that it might attract Bambi, immediately tells him to turn it off. Unexpectedly, Mary stumbles upon piles of bones and severed human organs, clearly indicating that they have found Bambi's nest. Moments later, Bambi appears right in front of them and launches an attack.
Mary, shh.
Fortunately, they manage to escape onto the main road and successfully evade Bambi. There, they encounter Michael and his group, who then take them to their base. During the trip, Zana urges Michael to report everything to the authorities, but he refuses, insisting that everything will be fine. Upon arriving at the base, they suddenly hear a distant sound that puts Michael on alert, but it turns out to be Simon emerging from the control room. Seeing his father, Benji immediately runs to hug him, overwhelmed with joy after not seeing him for so long. When Zana realizes that Simon is actually part of the hunter group, she feels deeply disappointed. Simon had always claimed he was busy with work, only for her to discover he was involved in all of this. Their argument is overheard by Benji, who becomes even more upset with his parents, as they always end up fighting whenever they meet. Hearing the cries of a baby deer, Benji secretly sneaks away to find the source of the sound. He discovers that Eddie and Tyler are using Bambi's child as bait, intending to lure Bambi out so they can capture him. From this, a shocking truth is revealed. The ones responsible for killing Bambi's mate actually came from Simon's own group. When Zana tries to borrow a phone from the group to call the police, Michael instead points a gun at her and forbids her from doing so. At that moment, everything is revealed. They are determined to end this by exterminating Bambi along with all the mutated animals. Simon's pharmaceutical company had accidentally contaminated the forest with dangerous chemicals, and Simon never imagined that the polluted water would cause the forest's creatures to mutate into monsters. If Zana calls the police, they will definitely be arrested and thrown into prison.
What the hell is all of this?
Now, he might not hurt you, but I will.
As Zana and Simon leave Michael's room, Zana suddenly realizes that Benji is missing. She immediately rushes out to search for her son. Elsewhere, Benji witnesses Eddie threatening the baby deer, while Tyler, desperate to relieve himself, wanders deeper into the forest in search of a more private spot. After finishing, he senses Bambi's presence the moment he turns on his flashlight, and Tyler is suddenly killed by Bambi. When Tyler does not return, Eddie goes to look for him and is confronted with the grim reality that his partner has been killed by Bambi. Moments later, from a distance, Eddie sees Bambi's figure approaching. Panicking at the sight of the ferocious deer, Eddie runs toward the vehicle in a desperate attempt to save himself. But despite his efforts, he is overpowered and ultimately killed by Bambi. Meanwhile, Benji feels compassion for the helpless baby deer and decides to set it free. However, Benji's action is noticed by a woman named Jo, one of Michael's associates, who is monitoring the CCTV. She immediately informs Michael. Not wanting his plan to fall apart, Michael rushes to chase after Benji and tries to stop him, while elsewhere Zana and Simon continue searching for Benji in the forest, unaware that Bambi's sense of smell is now sharper than ever. After killing Eddie, Bambi nearly kills Grandma Mary as well. Just as Bambi hesitates and does not devour Mary, loud noises made by Jo suddenly draw Bambi's attention, causing him to immediately attack Jo instead. Cornered in the kitchen, Joe fires at a gas cylinder, triggering a massive explosion. The blast is even seen by Michael, who is deep in the forest. Shortly after, Michael encounters Benji and becomes furious, intent on killing him for daring to free the baby deer. Not long later, Zana and Simon arrive and try to calm the situation. However, when Benji refuses to hand over the baby deer, Michael nearly shoots him. Suddenly, Bambi appears with smoke rising from his body, showing that he possesses extraordinary durability and has survived the powerful explosion. Bambi charges at Michael, rams him violently, and drags him deep into the forest. As Zana tries to grab Michael's fallen phone after the impact, Simon selfishly snatches it away. As a father, Simon reveals his cruelty by prioritizing himself over his family. Even when Benji comes face to face with Bambi, Simon chooses to abandon his family and leave. At that moment, Zana realizes that Bambi only wants his child back. She tells Benji to stay calm and return the baby deer. The situation slowly settles as the baby deer manages to soothe Bambi. Seizing the opportunity, Zana quickly pulls Benji away from the enraged creature. However, the tension rises again when Michael, who turns out to still be alive, shoots Bambi several times. Moments later, a single gunshot rings out, striking Michael directly in the head. Shockingly, the shot is fired by Mary, who has grown tired of the cruelty committed by the group. Severely wounded after taking multiple gunshots, Bambi finally collapses and dies before them. Although Bambi's terror has ended, the baby deer, who has just been reunited with his father, appears deeply heartbroken, almost as if silently vowing that one day he may seek revenge against humanity. Not wanting the tragedy to worsen, Zana tightly embraces Benji and Mary and urges them to leave the forest immediately. At the same time, Simon, who is driving away alone, suddenly senses that something is wrong with his belongings. He stops the car to check inside, only to be horrified when he discovers that a mutated rabbit has accidentally gotten in. Unfortunately for Simon, he is ultimately killed and devoured by the rabbit, and the story comes to an end.